And before we move on to the next big global story, here's an issue that I really want to address and talk about tonight: the overreach of courts. Courts in India have been feeding the world with sensational headlines of late. Some of them sound straight out of page 3. An Indian court recently called rising death toll due to oxygen shortage a genocide. Another court went on to suggest that the country's election commission be booked for murder. Yesterday, a lower court slammed a state government for carelessness. It could have done so in parliamentary language. Instead, it chose to say that the state's medical infrastructure is Ram Bharose, meaning at the mercy of God. When was the last time you heard such statements coming out of courtrooms? It's another story that right now they're being cheered, mostly because they're seen echoing the sentiment of Indians suffering from vaccine shortage and a devastating second wave of the Wuhan virus. This is how people feel. All is not well in India, and that is true. There is anger, there is rising frustration, even resentment with the authorities. But is it a court's job to play to the gallery? Leave that to the political parties. The judiciary's job, as we understand, is to protect the law of the land, ensure separation of power, checks and balances, ensure that the executive and the legislature do not overstep their limits. But that's something Indian courts are now being accused of themselves, overstepping their limits. On the 12th of May, an Indian court decided to play moral police. It denied protection to a couple in a live-in relationship. Why? The court said, and I'm quoting, "If such protection is granted, the entire social fabric of the society would get disturbed." Quick question. Is it a court's job to decide what is morally acceptable? No, it is not. Is it the court's job to decide what is socially acceptable? Again, it is not. What a court is supposed to do is decide what is legally acceptable, and legally speaking, Indians have the right to life. It is a fundamental right guaranteed by Article 21 of the Constitution of India. And it's the job of the court, any court in this country, to protect this right. Under no circumstance can it refuse to do this job, even if it goes against the morals of a judge. Criminality and morality are two different things. And as long as we are speaking law, I would also want to remind some judges that Indians have the right to privacy. Our relationships are private matters. These are spaces that judges cannot soiree into. While refusing to protect a live-in couple, the court said, as a matter of fact, the petitioners, in the garb of filing the present petition, are seeking a seal of approval on their live-in relationship, which is morally and socially not acceptable. I do not want to comment on how distasteful the statement is. Instead, I want to point out to every person watching this show tonight, young, old, single, in a relationship, whether you are a parent or a couple looking to move in together, live-in relationships have been upheld by the Supreme Court of India. As early as the year 2006, India's apex court said this: a woman free to marry anyone she likes or live with anyone she likes. This was in a case called the Lata Singh versus State of Uttar Pradesh, 2006. Why am I citing this observation? Because in India, the decision of the apex court is binding on all lower courts. Again, I'm not the one saying this. The Supreme Court is on its website. Let me read out a Supreme Court judgment, and this one is from 2010. It says, the acceptance of premarital sex and live-in relationships is viewed by some as an attack on the centrality of marriage. While there can be no doubt that in India marriage is an important social institution, we must also keep our minds open to the fact that there are certain individuals or groups who do not hold the same view. There is a reason why they say the law is blind. It is because the law is not supposed to be biased. Indian courts must move beyond lecturing people on morals. They must move beyond normalizing sexual offense by asking a victim to tie a rakhi to the accused. Courts cannot question the genuineness of rape allegations just because the survivor chose to drink with the accused. Courts cannot grant divorces because a woman does not believe in traditional markers like sindoor. Such judicial overreach is not welcome. Well, here is what is: staying in tune with the times. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.